Welcome to Breaking the Chain. I'm Jacob, and today we've got a special guest on. This is
Hi.
Alex from Ashen Wings. I don't know how I forgot that for a second, but go ahead and explain a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course, of course. If you've Jacob's a local of mine, so we get to hang out a lot. My name's Alex. I run the channel over at Ashen Wings TCG. Cover a lot of Sage stuff over there. And really, we just, I love talking about Flesh and Blood. So anytime anybody wants me to have to pop on their podcast, I'm always down because I love chatting. And of course, there's a lot of news that recently just dropped. So I love getting the discussion points through and talking with everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to have you on. Like, shout out if you haven't checked out his channel for whatever reason, go subscribe, go check it out. He has a lot of awesome content, and especially with like Sage coming out, like he's doing the A to Z series. It's amazing. I've been watching quite a bit of it.
It is a task for sure, but to know where we are now compared to the finish line, I'm very, very happy to know that we're as close as we are. We've made quite a bit of progress, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I was like thinking about it when you started that series too, because I'm like, I heard somewhere that if you played a different hero every single week, you'd still have more than a year's worth of heroes, and that's what I was like, man, that's gonna be a long project.
Yep, exactly. So instead of doing all that, I just released a video a day for like 3 weeks in a row, effectively, and got them all slammed out. But it's initially something I did want to do for like a week at a time, or at least like maybe like 2 to 3 videos a week. But I was like, no, you know what? I'm on a clock. We need to get this all done before Penn happens. Let me just send it. So yeah.
So how did you get into Flesh and Blood?
So me getting into Fab, I mean, it started back in 2022. Right? 22? That sounds right. It was with the release of Uprising. I was initially kind of taking a look at the game. I'm sure maybe yourself or anybody watching might know Alpha Investments, another YouTuber who talks a lot about the market of TCGs and stuff. Initially, I was watching a lot of his stuff because I used to cover Magic before I covered Flesh and Blood. And I was kind of getting into that market realm, and I kept seeing all these videos about Flesh and Blood and the rarity of the cards and how the game worked and the concept of the heroes and their talents. And I was like, okay, this seems kind of cool. Maybe I'll buy like a couple cards if I really want to, but like it's probably going to be nothing insane. I'm probably not going to get too deep into it. And then Uprising came out, and I learned about Dromai. And the funny thing is that my username handle of Ashen Wings was like that before Dromai existed. So the fact that it just blended so well into what I already had, and it looked to be a gameplay style that I enjoyed, I was like, well, I have to give it a shot now. I bought a TCG bundle when they were doing those for Uprising. Got a extended art Breaking Point when they were doing those. That was pretty cool. And then I opened my first box of Uprising on my channel. I pulled a Marvel Necria, and I'm like, all right, you got me. What do I need to do? And I bought a Blitz deck. I bought a whole bunch of these other dragons. I built myself up, and it just like learned the community, learned everything there. Went to my first armory upon Dynasty release, actually. Dynasty release was my first armory. There wasn't like a draft or anything for it, obviously, but it was just kind of another CC event, and I got hooked. I went 0-4 at my first armory, and I haven't looked back since. And it's been great. So that's my origin story.
No, that's awesome. It's actually, I was like thinking about it, like I know you like uploaded a lot of this pretty early on because I actually like caught you pretty early into you like going through your armory like process in the beginning. But it's cool to like hear your story from your perspective.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I really couldn't get enough of the game. I kept going back. I had even when I was, I still consider myself a pretty small creator for all it's worth, but like it is like, it was insane. One of my first the story I always like to tell is that, my a very privileged barrier of entry in the way, because I initially didn't want to put a lot of money into the game because I was like, well, it's going to be a couple $100s to get some upgrades for Dromai. I'm not really sure if I want to like go about going through that process just yet. And lo and behold, somebody who I swear to God, I've never interacted with them since this occurred. And I still don't know why this happened, but somebody had reached out and found my PayPal on my Twitch account back when I used to stream on Twitch, proceeded to donate me $100 to my PayPal so that I could buy Flamescale Furnace at the time. Because they were like, this is the card you need for Dromai. And I'm like, who are you? Who are you? And if you're still out there, thank you. Again, this is insane. But I kept going back for more and more, and I just didn't stop. And I did realize that the more I saw the decline of Magic the Gathering in my own eyes, at least, I was like, okay, I'm happy I chose this, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're all happy to have you. Again, I love seeing like all your Sage content. You add so much, so it is very cool to have you on and like have you as like a local too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. I'm just happy to spread the joy. That's what it's all about. So
sweet. Do you want to jump into the dev talk then?
Oh yeah. Let's absolutely do that. There's so many topics to talk about. I didn't think we'd get this much information during the dev talk. I thought it was going to be a very basic, like, all right, here's where competitive season is leading up until Pen. And lo and behold, it was like, you're going to learn about all the formats and why we made these changes and some things you probably never thought you were going to hear before.
Yeah.
Very fun.
It was like wild to me because like, it feels like there's like not a ton because there's a lot of information we did know. But, like, the stuff that they dropped was, like, huge information. They're like, here's a lot of normal stuff. Also, huge drop here. Okay, moving on to the next thing.
And it's just so casual, too. So, obviously, like, we can get right into the very first topic, right, of it being Blitz, right? They had, obviously, just coming off of the back of your very first skirmish win. Congratulations again on that.
Thank you.
I was curious on what Blitz was going to be after everything, right? You know, the Living Legend, the whole thing. If it wasn't going to be competitive anymore, what are they doing at keeping it at a fun level for locals to still play it, but maybe just holding back on it being competitive? And boy, did they just flip that whole format around and say, hey, you want something different? We'll give you something different.
Yeah, that was wild. And if you don't know, they just like, hey, yeah, Blitz is kind of leaving. It's still casual. You can still have fun. Anyways, everything's unbanned and it's Singleton.
Yeah.
Like
what in the world is happening? It's just like, okay, cool. And now you can play with whatever you want. It's a Singleton format now, which I had never heard the word Singleton come out of any of the devs' mouths since I have started this game. And the fact that it was just like, immediately like, oh yeah, you know what, Singleton, and they just casually just slipped that right in there, like, oh yeah, of course, it's Singleton now. Why wouldn't it be? So
yeah, moved on. It was wild.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting change. And then, I mean, there is the concept of apparently there's due to be just like one competitive Blitz event like a year. When that will be, we're not sure, but like there will be one event for it. Outside of that, it's not going to be anything that's going to be in that competitive scene for the foreseeable future. But I think with it just being Singleton now and everything being legal, I think oddly enough, you're going to see a lot of people who have never touched Blitz before a day in their life come into here and try to really like make the weirdest deck possible just to kind of keep the revitalized Blitz format in that realm. I have never really wanted to build for Blitz, in a deeper sense of like, not involving all the good cards that already go inside of a deck. But now that it's a Singleton format, the weird things you get to do, everything being unbanned is also weird. Is it going to be Skeleton Visceri still, or is the Singleton enough to like stop that from being really oppressive? Can you play Spirit of Christmas now in your deck? Or go bananas or anything of the sort. Like, what are we really looking at when it comes to the craziness of Blitz? So I'm excited to see what people come up with, and who knows, maybe I'll cover a little bit of it on the channel just to kind of be silly about it, see what that happens.
Yeah, no, it was something like I've never really designed too much for Blitz. The most I did was when I was actually like newer to the game and I built the original Kasai deck. I'm like, this is so cool. But after that, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take my CC deck, take it down to 52 cards, and run with that.
Yeah.
So that's what I like normally do. But when they're like, unban everything, singleton, I'm like, I don't normally play Blitz, but that makes me want to like, let's go back to original Kasai and see how that's built now, and like, let's try this random deck. I've always wanted to build like a weird Benji deck too, like a fire breathing Benji deck, like
right. The possibilities are insane now. I mean, that really is just, it is a thing. And Brian Gottlieb talked about it too, how he's very much so a proprietor of leave everything unbanned, let people figure it out, and if it's really oppressive, we'll do something about it. And I do think that this is just kind of like, because it's so much on the back burner now, this went from a supported format, quote unquote supported format, by LSS to now a community run format of people who are just like, let's just make weird stuff and send it into Talishar, or have like a local Blitz event. If people are really diehard about Blitz at their local scene and don't want to get rid of it, people can still do like, 1Ks of Blitz if they really want to do it. And I think that would be a very interesting thing to watch, considering the now evolution of where the format is right now. So
yeah, it was absolutely out of nowhere. And it's something where I'm not sure like Blitz is gonna grow any further past this, because it's not supported, and I like it feels like the correct decision, because I'm sure over the last year everyone felt like, well, they're definitely banning stuff in CC, but Blitz has not been touched, and there's this broken thing in Blitz, and you could definitely tell that it was getting less and less support throughout the entire structure. So it's like, it feels like the correct thing to do, but it's also like just absolutely wild for them to like, oh, we're just removing everything, go wild, have fun, do what you want. You want to do the Verdant's fire breathing combo thing that did like 700 damage in one calling? Go ahead.
Right, go ahead, do it. You want to play Kano at like nearly full power and just blow up your opponent at any point? Like, that's insane. I think it's just, I don't know. It's going to be very, very fun. I would like to at some point do some stuff on it, just because it is, it's kind of like with Sage. Like, anytime a new format comes around, or a big change happens to a format, a lot of people tend to go, I want to look into that. I want to see what that's all about, right? And so I think we're going to see a lot of people do that with Blitz. Whether or not it takes off and it's good, who knows? If you're just doing it for funsies, hopefully you're doing it for funsies and you're not trying to like meta warp the format or whatever. But if you really like Kano and you really just want to play Kano, I could only imagine that Kano's power in that format is like quadrupled now. So that'll be a fun time.
I'm really interested to see how it all does. And I think it was also like a cool decision. And this is something I think I brought up on like previous episodes, where it's like the idea of like LL and Blitz specifically. I was like, why don't we just have like one event every year for that? Like, just one big event, like, hey, here's LL to show off this cool format, or like, until it like really picks up, I was like, oh, here, like, now that they're doing with Blitz, like, once a year, like, hey, here's this really cool format, like, want to give it a shot? Yeah, it's like a competition, but it's this once a year weird format. Is there really a meta? No. If there's something broken, cool, like, that's kind of fun to find at that point, really. So it's like, I think that's super cool, and I was actually really happy for them to be like, yeah, we're gonna do like a once a year tournament for this kind of stuff. I'm like, that's actually sick.
Yeah, gives Blitz players something to still look forward to throughout the days, if they're, since they're not going to be able to be playing in like Blitz skirmishes anymore to go for like Living Legend points or anything. But that's the other thing on top of the Living Legend stuff. Like, Living Legend points are still going to be accrued. They're not accrued, but they're still going to be, if you earn Living Legend points through this last Blitz skirmish, you're still on there. Those points are still accounted for. Everybody who is on a Roll of Honor is still showcases a Roll of Honor, even though the LL system is done for Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
So they're at least continuing to honor people's efforts to playing in Blitz. Because gosh, wouldn't have that been awful if you worked so hard to win a skirmish and then they'd be like, Jacob, you didn't win anything, buddy. Stop it. You know,
Your
what are you
LL
talking
points
about?
mean nothing.
Nothing. Get him out of here. Oh my gosh, that would suck. Well, and at least it's nice that they're keeping that around. But
No, that's cool.
Blitz is a for fun thing now, so that's good.
Well, and I think it is cool because like it is like to show off the history of Blitz because it was something like, and they talked about it a little bit in the podcast too, or podcast in their dev talk.
Yeah,
Which I mean is kind of a podcast, but
it's a podcast.
yeah. In their dev talk, they talked about it a little bit where it's like they didn't actually want to make like a young format so early, but it was like the necessity of like COVID where they had to like, especially in shops in like that side of the world, like you're only allowed in the store for so long.
Right.
That they're like, we need a really quick short format that people can just like play and then get out of the store so they can like abide by COVID laws.
Yep.
And that's where like Blitz came along. And then it picked up really crazy on like online games.
Yeah, it was just it was a quick thing to do. You know, if you didn't have any time or weren't even allotted that amount of time, like you were still able to play 3 to 4 games of Flesh and Blood and then get out of there before, you know, where in the same round you could do, you know, 2 rounds of CC and it's a lot longer of a game.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to have that. I've always been a proponent of having a fast and a like medium speed like formats, just because you want to cater to the most people, and I think that some people they don't want to be there for 4 hours, they want to be there for 2 hours, and that's helpful for them. So
yeah, and I've always heard that Blitz is a lot more popular outside of the USA, so it's like something that like I think with Silver Age moving in, this is a good point for them to be like, hey, we're sunsetting Blitz. We got this format that we planned to make way later, and we made it with Silver Age, but
yeah, Silver Age is a nice like response to that. You still have very quick games. You don't have to pay anywhere near as much money, and it is just like overall a very you know, it's just a good replacement. I love everything about that.
Yeah, no, I think it was cool, and then also like a good spot to put Blitz. So I was very excited with that. Now, like I'd say excited. I was very interested, and it like really piqued my interest. And it's like now I want to go and like build, like I said, that Benji deck and just see how it works. It probably will still be bad, but
hey, you know, that's the thing, right? Is it's not about, you know, putting in the blood, sweat, and tears to get yourself to a pro tour on your Benji deck, right? It's like, hey, you got 30 minutes, less maybe. Like, you want to just jam a quick game to see how silly this is? Okay, cool. Like, that's a low stakes way to even like start getting people into the game, is just having these Blitz decks around to be like, yeah, sure. Nobody actually cares about what's meta. I just brought like 5 decks that I really enjoyed and figured we'd do that. So
yeah, no, that will be fun and interesting. And I'm interested to see like how Blitz further evolves, because it is very different than I think it's been throughout the history, especially as like a singleton format.
Yeah, that's going to change a lot. Singleton format, everything being unbanned. I mean, I think effectively that means you're able to play Scarf for Scarf now. You're able to. I mean, there's just so many other cards that have been like banned from the format just because they've been special promos, and now that's going to be legal. You know, super oppressive cards are going to be legal. They unbanned Stormstrider. They banned Stormstriders for a season just to unban it effectively. So people get Stormstriders. Yeah. So sick. Yeah, I'll have to do some testing for it. It'll be a good time. It'll be fun.
It should be fun. But moving on from that, I think the next topic was LL. And
yes.
That was... I think that one was a little bit more serious because of how LL was, like, taken into Worlds. And it was something that, like, I think a lot of people noticed, but they still feel like it's a very important format to the game, which makes sense. but it just was a little bit underdeveloped, and not a lot of people really wanted to play it.
Yeah, I think it was something that they certainly could have spent more time on
Hmm.
in regards to what they wanted the format to be. But overall, I mean, with it being in the state that it was, I think it's just because there is so much that was not explored, right? People
Yeah.
thought they solved the meta super quick by just being like, I'm just going to play Chain, I'm just going to play Viserai, I'm just going to play Briar. All the rune blades are busted, only play rune blades, you're good to go. And then you take a look at 2 days before the World Championship, and people are like, Marlin, really good. Dash IO, play stubby hammers. And it's like that kind of innovation can only happen in a format that is like Living Legend, right? Like
Hmm.
you have that availability of so many different heroes to choose from, a large card pool. Not many cards are banned, and if they are, there most of them are just restricted instead of being banned entirely. So there's a lot of ways for you to brew decks, and I do think that if maybe we saw like, I don't know, two more callings before Worlds, people would have been like a little bit more excited for Living Legend. But with it just kind of being like a, hey, you're gonna play Living Legend and we're gonna make like pseudo bans in the middle of PQ season, and hopefully that's enough. And then they realized that it wasn't, and they were just like, you know what, forget about it. Let's just make Worlds fun. And
Hmm.
a lot of people really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people who started not liking LL had gone to Worlds, played in the events. Some people have just they played the Living Legend portion in Worlds, and their response after Worlds was just like, that wasn't actually as bad as I thought. And it's because, you're not most people are not playing LL on a regular basis, right? Like
Yeah.
Classic Constructed is such a prevalent format. Most stores don't even bother switching to saying like, oh, maybe one week we do LL, the other week we do CC. Most stores don't want to do that because they know that LL is just not going to get as much attendance.
Yeah, and I think like one point on like LL not getting as much attendance, like they did talk in the dev talk, like especially James White, like putting
Mhm.
out too many formats, it's hard to keep the attention of like players, and it's hard if you're like
Mhm.
breaking up your players into those formats. And it's something I've never really thought about. Like I'm not
Mhm.
a game designer. I've never designed anything in Flesh and Blood, and I've never had to be in like that position. So it was like an interesting
Right.
thought to hear, because I'm like, I've never thought, like I always would have thought like, oh, just like make 1,000 format. Like what's the problem with that? Like then people can play whatever they want. But then you have the problem of like finding people to play whatever you want. And you like, I think you definitely saw it in LL, which like there are definitely LL enjoyers, but
Yeah.
it just broke the attention, and it's hard to get people out to a format that they don't normally play.
Yeah. Yeah. And having to testing for multiple formats is a lot harder too. Usually, like,
Mm-hmm.
at least like in that situation, testing for draft, if there was a draft, right? Like, that would be a lot more okay, right? Just buy a box, everybody get 8 people together, everybody drafts. You can just kind of figure out what your bombs are and what aren't and work from there, right? But to determine that all of these different options are available to you, you have to put in the effort to learn the format, and you have to still know enough about CC and go from there. And I do think that it was really like a, I don't know. I think they could have been certainly much more to Living Legend as far as like attendance. But just because I also think that unfortunately with social media, you're not gonna. A lot of people are talking bad about Living Legend. A lot of people were talking really bad about Living Legend before the format came to fruition at Worlds, and that probably turned off a lot of players from wanting to actually go about playing at their Living Legend events, even if they were just like, cool, I just need to add high octanes to my Dio deck and I'm in a good spot. Like, you, a lot of people just were not hyped about it.
Yeah,
So, you know,
it is definitely hard with like social media, because it feels like a lot of things. Like if it just gets the wrong traction, it can definitely
mhm.
kill a format. Where I think LL was like super cool and people were really excited initially, and then they had one bad meta where it's like things just were out of whack, and it just took the format down with it. Where it's
Yeah.
like, I remember almost a year ago this time, people were like, LL looks so cool. You can play so many decks. You can do so many things. I'm so excited to play it. And I think when they announced it at Worlds, people were like, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to see it. And then it was just one season of LL not looking good. And it's just like the whole traction and sentiment of it was like, what are they doing? Why is LL in Worlds? And it's. And I agree with what you said a little bit earlier, where it's like if they had a couple more callings, like the sentiment could have definitely very changed.
Yeah.
Like if they the Marlin deck came out like a month earlier, then it could have been some people like, oh well, Marlin's a real deck, and then like you see all these other decks start to become real decks again, or even just like play different styles, and it's like I think Kano was starting to get back up on the like rise of play. At least I think I heard a little bit of Kano talk.
I mean, Kano players are always going to want to play Kano.
Yeah,
I mean, they're always going to send the absolute nuttiest things at their opponents, and I mean that's what Living Legend is for. You know, like that. It quite literally is going to be for the really powerful turns and the really powerful games of showcasing what the history of Flesh and Blood has been like over the course of things. And I think very quickly we've moved away from a Starvo only meta like when LL was initially introduced, and we see significantly more things becoming, you know, into the limelight of Living Legend. But again, with not enough time to really practice and people not really putting in a lot of effort to do that, they're kind of just like, well, of course the best deck is Chain. Why wouldn't the best deck be Chain? Have you seen Chain's hero ability? Why would I not be playing Chain? And so a lot of it just ends up being like that. And then next thing you know, it's okay, cool. Well, I didn't expect to find a Marlin here. And then there's 2 Marlins, and I think, what is it like? Yeah, two to three Marlins or something in the top 8. And it's like, okay, Worlds or LL is a very, very real format, but there is a lot of odds and ends that still need to be figured out. And I think that in 5 years' time, we're going to see a resurgence of it. We're going to see far more heroes enter the fray, far more cards. We're going to see the support that we hopefully really want for many of these heroes and classes in general over the course of those years. And with that being the case, I think that eventually it will resurface as a format that will really just like keep the nostalgic players wanting to play those things. Because like Dromai 2 is going to come out, but I know it's not going to be like original Dromai. And so I know deep down in my soul, I'm going to be like, all right, well, I probably still want to play old Dromai because I really like her play style, and that's what made me fall in love with the game. And if that's what Living Legend is for me, I think that's fine, especially if they kind of keep it at a non-competitive level, because you can just play it like a side event, or you know, if they do that same deal where they're doing like a once a year competitive event thing for it, I think that that's at least enough for them to go, hey, just play what you like, just hang out, have a good time. We'll figure out, you know, they're going to figure out bans and stuff right before these big competitive, you know, the one time a year competitive event, and see like, okay, what is oppressive, what isn't. But it's not going to be their main focus. And I think that's fine, because it's if it's not a competitive focused format, it shouldn't be the focus of LSS as it is, because that's just going to mess up other formats when looking at that.
Yeah, and I think it is like a format with a lot of promise. I think the other thing is like it was a little bit of CC plus to some points, where I think in a few years you let it develop a little bit more, it's definitely going to have more an identity, because like, oh, you have a lot more heroes at LL. On top of like the sentiment, like putting it on the back burner, I think is smart for LSS to be like, hey, it's a format that we believe in. It has negative sentiment, but if we put it on this back burner, kind of erase all that sentiment, let it cook some more. Maybe we can step in, fix some things like in the background while like people are focused on Sage and CC, and then bring it back in a couple of years when it's like, one, it feels a lot more Living Legend because we have a lot more heroes that have Living Legend that are viable. It feels like if the sentiment's gone about it being bad, and it comes back and you can play all these new heroes, and we've touched, because I wouldn't say it's a perfect format. I definitely think it had its problems.
For sure.
But for them to go in and like fix up a couple things, I'm very interested to see in like 3 years or 4 years at like year 10 of Flesh and Blood what they do with LL and like, hey, we're bringing it back to Worlds, and by the way, there's now twice as many heroes that have LL'd, so that means there's twice as many cool strategies that you haven't played in the last 10 years to
Right.
like add to. So it's like I think it was a smart decision, and I think it was like cool, and I think it's interesting that they're like, we still believe in this format after like all of what happened, because I think that's a good stance to kind of sit in, because like it was a little weird at first because of how the sentiment sat, but the more I like thought about it myself, I was like, that makes sense. It's just, I think it just, things just didn't work out this time.
Yeah, I mean, they love Classic Constructed as a format in general. It's obviously their baby. It's what is pushing people to continue to play Flesh and Blood on a day-to-day basis. And this is just CC, but nostalgia and like different combos that you wouldn't get to do previously. Like when they come out with new Illusionist cards, I get to go, okay, these will do this in Prism now, but what do they do in Dromai then? What do they do in Enigma? What are they doing in those heroes? You know, I think so many people really loved the concept of wanting to be able to come back and play something like Icelander, which was a lot of people's favorite back in the day. And, you know, returning back to your roots, to what started it all for you, I think is enough to want people to continue to play it. But when you look at it in that vein, it's definitely more of a casual thing, right? You know, there are legacy events for Magic, right, that occur, but it's not like the main format, right? It's still a side format that, you know, a few people who are really dedicated to playing, you know, the more open card pool side of that game enjoy. So it has its own special players, but the majority of those players are not in that format. They're in, you know, the whatever main format they're doing, Standard or Commander, I guess. So that's kind of the same concept, right? Is that there is that split of player base, but right now our player base, the Flesh and Blood player base, is not that of Magic's. Yeah. So the pool seems so much smaller. Yeah, it seems so much smaller moving into LL, you know, where we only have out of our whole group of people in Colorado, we probably have like 5 people who are like super big into Living Legend, and then everybody else is like, yeah, like it's cool, I guess. So it's pretty hard to split your love for formats there, especially when Classic Constructed is just so like important to the backbone of Flesh and Blood right now.
Yeah, and I think like from like Classic Constructed will like always be like the backbone, but it's something that we just don't have the infrastructure to add more quite yet. And I think, and like we've talked about in multiple episodes before, but it's like I think this is a perfect point to introduce Sage as like the format. While the other formats, I think like Blitz had its time, but like LL felt a little bit early, and like all these other formats had some weird or like mixed introductions. I think that like Sage, for the most part, has been received very well, and like the transition feels like just perfect.
Yeah, absolutely excited for that. I mean, just anything to still, because it's a format you still get to have that Living Legend feel. I mean, you don't get to play Starvo. Oh no, scary, right? You don't get to play Starvo, but you still get to play all the other heroes. You get to play Oldhim, you get to play Lexi, you get to play Briar, you get to play Icelander, you get to play Dromai, like all the heroes of old. You don't get to play Jarl. Oh no, you get to play better Jarl. It's crazy. Like I think that's at least enough for people to go, I want to experience what the game was like then, and Sage will do that so long as every hero in 1.0 is not infinity banned if they end up being that powerful. So
we'll get a little more into that because I have some thoughts on that, but it's like when like talking about the backbone, I think that's like a good transition into like the CC talk.
Yeah.
And it's like the backbone CC they did bring up a little bit, and it's much less about like, oh, this is the transition of CC or the evolution of CC. Like CC is still like how it is, and I think there's a lot of points that they said like and a lot of this is going to be like the meta and the upcoming ban announcement on the 15th or 16th, like I
Hmm.
can't, somewhere around there. But the idea of like with the upcoming ban announcement, they're like, I think they had like a lot of good points on it, and because they're like, this is a healthy meta. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. We think that this is what a meta should look like, where you have three
Hmm.
kind of decks via like all viable, fighting for position number one. They all have three different strategies, and they're like, this is what a healthy meta in Flesh and Blood should look like. And
Yep.
I completely agree. Like, I think I've been trying to say like I've been saying around the locals that I'm like, this is a healthy meta, and like this is, and they said this is probably the healthiest meta, and I'm like, I think you could argue the heavy hitters might have been a little more healthy, but like depending, and I think it's also point of view, but it's
Yeah.
like I think it's definitely one of the healthiest metas like Flesh and Blood has ever had, and it's like if they strived and hit this every single time, that'd be awesome. Like that, this would be an amazing meta to play in, and they're like, there's not a, and I think this is like a good emphasis. It's like there's not a problem with CC. Like CC's in a very good place right now.
Yeah.
The thing that needs to be changed is that we've had the same top three decks for 6 months now,
Yes.
and people just want something different. Not that it's a bad meta, not that anything needs change, but people just want to play something different. And I think that's like a very good like jumping off point into like what I think like CC and this dev talk on CC was all about.
Yeah. I mean, it's effectively come down to, I think that the meta is in a very great place. You do have your triangle meta of three heroes duking it out for the top. Sometimes those A tier heroes end up sneaking in and getting good wins into some others, and you see them pop into the top tables. I mean, we had what I think it was Valencia, where no Verdance and no Syndra made it to the top eight
Yeah.
at all. And people were like, what are they dead now? What happened? Like, this is the best. These are two best decks in the format. How are none of them represented in top eight? And it's like, sometimes it just happens. I mean, like, there are plenty of heroes that are like on the cusp of S in this format that we're in right
Oh
now,
yeah.
in this meta, that are enough. I mean, like, yeah, the fact that I could get top eight at a PQ on Arachne Huntsman means a lot. The fact that Huntsman could get any amount of PQ wins in general means a lot. Like, that is, people have to truly, who have been established in the game for a while, have to understand that that is where we're at right now. The pool is huge. It's
Yeah.
just that when it comes to conversion, like true deep numbers, you're seeing more people on Gravy, Syndra, and Verdance convert because they're more consistent heroes, and they have the oppression and the popularity as well of the format. But that's where people were expecting. Okay, cool. This is where that 0.5x multiplier is going to come into place with Living Legend. Is that they're going to ban more cards from these heroes that are doing really good because it will help shift them into different places in the meta so that other heroes can rise up. But from based on what their at least their own information on the bans is, it's not so much that they're planning on banning stuff, but more so that they're planning on unbanning stuff. Which, because and this just brings me to my own thing of, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bonds of Agony get unbanned this during this thing, because that is the villain, right? Like, that is another villain. That is another angle at which people have to understand that the disruption sits. And I think that is enough to push people to have to make changes to their deck. It's going to have to swap things around. Syndra might not be as good because she's getting two cards ripped from her hand on a regular basis. So you might see, I don't know, Katsu become like the ninja or something because he can tutor the cards. There's a bunch of different opportunity for change, and I'm hopeful that what we find out on the 15th is going to be helpful. And hopefully it's not like, yeah, we banned, like, we're banning this card from this hero because we just kind of think it's silly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think there's a lot of cool opportunities to bring back cards, and like Although I'm not a huge fan of Bonds of Agony, I could definitely see it coming back. I've actually been thinking about it a lot over the last day. I'm like, how do I combat Bonds of Agony?
Right.
Like
I mean, they brought back Germinate, right? They brought back Germinate after banning it, and because they saw what that did to Florian. Like, it wasn't like okay, cool, Germinate's gone, Florian's just kind of okay now. They killed the entire hero. Like, it was just not able to convert anywhere near the levels at which it was previously. And even still, it's with Germinate, it's not anywhere near as relevant. Obviously it's an Earth hero. Any hero that gets to play Felling of the Crown probably has a pretty good chance. But like, it is really like not that big of a change. And I don't think that Bonds of Agony was that big of a problem, to the point that, and I'll get flack for that. I don't think it was that big of a problem that it needed to be banned. I think they could have banned other cards in the pool to maybe make that a little bit different. I know a lot of people were fighting that, like, Take Up the Mantle was far worse than that. But now we know they're not going to ban Take Up the Mantle because it's going to be in the Slippy Armory deck. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious what happens with the bans, but I'm expecting unbans more than I'm expecting bans.
I'm expecting a little bit of both. Like, I'm expecting them to be like, hey, like, I would think it'd be really cool, and I think a lot of people have talked about it, like, hey, here's Tipple back. Like, by the way, just give Tipple back. But to hit Gravy, we're going to take out, like, Chum, or we're going to take out this, or do something else to help, like, take Gravy down a notch. But it's like, unban that, and it's like, as much as I personally would hate to see Bonds of Agony come back, like I said, I could see it coming back. I think, like, in a certain situation, I think it could be very healthy for the game. Mm-hmm. It's something where it's like, I'd be interested to see how they introduce it, because, like, I honestly love Take Up the Mantle as a card. I think it's super flavorful, super cool. And, like, I think that what made Take Up the Mantle feel so bad was Bonds of Agony. Like, now it's barely a card, but it's like, that's where I'm like, I think it's, like, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because I think they have a lot of options to try and mix up the format to make these, like, heroes more and less viable. I know a lot of people have been talking about Talk a Big Game, which they're like, well, obviously the heavy hitters heroes did not a lot, so why don't we see them at their full potential? And, like, I could still see that staying banned, just because, like, I can imagine Lyeth going, oh, I deal 10 damage to you, I deal 20 damage to you, I deal 30 damage to you, just because the hands line up. And that's like,
if it ends up being that, that's going to be a lot. But of course, like, they have to see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be preemptive about it, but if the results that they have don't reflect it, then there's no reason for them to make that change. I mean, they brought back Germinate, and they can see that Germinate is, like, sure, Florian's still an A-tier hero. Like, that's totally a thing. And so because of that, it's, they have to get that data. And as long as it's not like months and months and months of several seasons of people being like, yeah, Lyeth is 7 out of 8 heroes in the top 8 of every single calling they go to, then it's like, okay, right? Obviously they know that they made a mistake and they can ban the card again and just go, okay, let's figure it out. But I don't foresee that happening. I genuinely think that there's more consistency to be had. And I think that, you can bring back cards that maybe you've unbanned because it might just be the right time for that. Like, Ball Lightning could get unbanned for all we know, right? Because who's using it? Acilio? Like,
I think that would be the coolest unban of all time.
Yeah, I'm saying that'd be crazy.
As a non-aggro player and someone that gets smoked by Acilio a lot, that would be so cool. Like, I would be so on board for that. If they're just like, by the way, Ball Lightning's back. Like, that'd be sick. And, like, what broke it really was, like, Briar being able to generate the, like, Embodiment of Earth tokens. And then also, like, Rune Blades with Sting of Sorcery, where, like, if you don't know how that interaction worked, it's like, it dealt 1 arcane, and then when you went to prevent it, because it dealt the arcane, Ball Lightning made it trigger twice, which meant you had to prevent a source of 2 arcane each time. With Sting of Sorcery says every attack gains, when this attacks, deal 1 arcane damage. It was bonkers. It was crazy. But it's like, I mean, there's no lightning Rune Blade, so it's like you don't have to worry about that interaction. And like, what's Cecilio gonna do? Block worse? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Right. They already have a whole bunch of no blocks in their deck. They might as well just put a whole deck full of no blocks and just try to kill you. Like, Acilio is again another one of those heroes that's just like right on the cusp of S tier. Like, especially if they just blow you up, right? Like, sure, they have a really bad hand, and it's like, okay, how do they recover from that? But in most cases, that's where the filtering comes in. Like, Acilio is a very, very, very good hero. But of course, it's just one of those things where the conversion rates don't show that. So it's like, okay, every now and again an Acilio slips into top 8 and you're like, oh cool, okay, good job Acilio. But with Ball Lightning, it's like, cool, you lose even more of your block value, but I mean, what you're gonna send? Yeah, you're right. You're gonna send all these crazy spells at your opponent, and it's just like, cool, okay, now you're dealing in an extra 1. You're already coming in for 4 on every other breakpoint, and then you're sending a big spell. It's different. I think it's going to be something that I don't know. We'll see. We'll see exactly what happens. I'm not sure. They'll have to ban it before Aurora comes out, though.
Yeah,
that cannot exist when Aurora is in the format. That's going to be so bad.
And then you have.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's a great way to LL that hero. And
Ball Lightning. Every attack does like 4 arcane and.
Gosh. And then they remove the 0.5x barrier. They give her 2x, and she speedruns to LL again. So.
Yeah, but it would definitely be a very fun unban in this moment in time, because I also don't think it makes Cecilio like a lot more explosive. He'd be a lot better into like aggro mirrors. Like, Dio like would be scared a little bit. I'm sure Syndra would not be very happy with that. But then like as a Guardian player, it's like, man, I'm scared they're gonna blow me up. But if I throw one disruptive thing, I'm hitting. It's getting through. So it's something where I think it's like a cool trade-off if the deck wants to go that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good. That's that push and pull, you know? It's like, give them one tool to remove another. And, I mean, you know, they could unban Ball Lightning and Acilio players could be like, no, this card's bad. We don't want to play this. And then what, right? Like, it doesn't do anything for there. You're able to do things like, you know, just kind of fool around with the deck in other ways. Maybe cards come out in Pen that assist with that, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, maybe Ball Lightning is good. But that's obviously it's far more brighter minds than me, because I do not know how to build Acilio to save my life.
I can barely build Guardian, so I can't tell you if this is actually a terrible unban. I just think it would be cool and definitely meta changing.
Exactly. It would bring Belittle back. You know what? While we're at it, bring back Belittle.
You want to talk about the same aggro deck?
Let Phi LL just get crazy with it. Let him get crazy with it. It'll be fine.
He's been crawling to the finish line for the last 2 years. Please let the guy go.
Please. He just wants to rest. Let him rest.
He wants a break. And there's definitely some things that would be like a little extreme, but it would be cool to see a few of these cards like pop back out of nowhere and see how the meta kind of takes that on. See, I'm a component for bring all the books back. I'm okay with it. That people draw 2. I create 2 Seismic Surge.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. The Valda play. Yeah, okay. Draw 2. It's like, yes, 2 Seismic Surge.
Yes, my shield now blocks 5.
We're so back. Kano's about to LL out of the format. What is he going to do with the books? Nothing. Like, get him out of here.
The first pro quest to Kano. That's okay. Right. The second pro quest is all mine.
Exactly. You don't got to worry about anything. Let him unban the books. Unban the books for 1 pro quest week.
Yeah. But that's not happening. Gosh. But it'd be kind of funny to see. Like, it's interesting thinking about what could happen. And then even then, like, what cards they could ban. Like, if they do want to go and target, like, Syndra a little harder, like, Brand of Cinderclaw, maybe Wrath of Retribution. Like, there's definitely a lot of things that come out. But it'd be cool to see them unban some cards and let the format go a little more wild again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just something to shake it up, right? If people are really worried about a stale meta, there are certainly ways to shake that up and make that different. Or everybody who's on all the heroes that are in the top meta can stop playing them. Yeah. And then we could just have that happen. You have free will. You could make that change.
I tell you what, I take my free will to another level.
Yeah, right. Valda only and forever. You're gonna register Bravo for PQ, and I'm gonna be like, "What in the world are you doing, Jacob?"
That's it's so weird, like hearing that because I played only Bravo for like 3 years
Right.
straight.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're gonna be like, I gotta go back to my roots. Send in Bravo, tank Bravo, or a Bravo, make it happen, and just like completely blow away. And people are like, what do you mean you brought Bravo?
See, I think it's gonna be wild when I like bring some like hero that's not a Guardian. Like, oh yeah. I brought Ira to the Pro Quest, and people would be like,
I'm gonna be like, Jacob, who hurt you? What are you doing?
Are you wearing a mask? Where you put the real Jacob?
Where's your wire? Are you sitting here telling? Are you making content right now? Is that what's happening? Where's the GoPro? I gotta see it.
You're doing a really good job of hiding it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like it is definitely something where it's like I think it being a competitive game too, like drives that like, oh yeah, the top 3 decks are so dominant. That's like, well, most people that are highly competitive are playing one of the top 3 decks. So
yeah,
I think that also like drives statistics, and sometimes that's hard to like take out and understand. Like, okay, like these decks are really close, but if you care about actually winning, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna bring one of the 3 best decks, even if you have almost as good a chance on another deck, like Kasai or Acilio or any of the other heroes that we've listed. Like, you still have like Mario. You have so many good chances, but like, why not just go with the top 3 when you want to win?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're able to get lucky. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it's a card game, and sometimes card games do card game things, and you end up getting a really crazy hand, and you deal 25 damage to your opponent, and they aren't able to do anything about it, and they lose the game because they didn't draw the right cards.
Yeah.
But I mean, truly, it's about consistency at the end of the day of like what your hero is able to output, and Verdance is able to be very consistent with her damage. Syndra is able to be very consistent with her damage and her game plan. Gravy has some variance, but to the most part, you have all the knowledge you need in order for you to go and be a little bit more safer with it, because you have resources for things and gold to fix your hand. So it's options.
He's a weird level of consistent. Like, he's like mostly consistent with like the highest ceiling. Like, and I think that's where he gets a lot of his benefits.
Yeah, being able to quite literally go, oh, I drew an inconsistent hand. What do I have? 4 gold on my board. Pitch. This hand looks better. Send 8 into 6, and it's like, okay, cool. I guess that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, Prismatic Leyline, Conqueror of the High Seas, Swell. Oh, I hit a blue. Thank God.
Yeah. Send Swabby for 9. Like, oh yeah, of course. Like, easy piece. This game's so crazy. It really is just kind of one of those things where I almost feel like Gravy plays a little bit like Kano sometimes, where it's like, you dig, you found it, you win. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess if you have the ability to fix your hand and make it better, then you're probably a really consistent deck.
Yeah. But it like is definitely good to have those top 3, but
yeah.
I think to move on from CC and to go to the meat and potatoes of it all, we can go into Sage.
Silver Age.
I'm so excited for Silver Age to actually be like set up as like a competitive format to play in those pro quests.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time with, I mean, right now, obviously, we're taking a look with what they had spoken about over at the Dev Talk. The biggest takeaway from that Dev Talk for me on that one was that they did not do any testing for the format as it is right now, today. So anybody going to Seattle this weekend, anybody going to Hong Kong, anybody going to any of these other events that are Silver Age right now at this moment, not anything that LSS attested for. We are currently in Season 0, the Wild West of Silver Age. And this is obviously with the results that we've seen from Valencia, from Tokyo, we see that, this obviously was not something that they thought a lot about, because Chain is run rampant. Rune Blades are just everywhere. Guardians have not been touched at all. It's such a good format for Guardians. It's like such a good format for Guardians.
It's my format. Let's
it literally like is built. I mean, the Guardian enjoyers are foaming at the mouth for this because they're like, oh my gosh, a format I'm actually good in. That's crazy.
My 0-for-4 blocks that don't do anything else are super good in this format.
Like just blocking out breakpoints, like
So
it's so insane. And I think, of course, like we're due to see a difference there. I'd imagine if Pen is really what they're planning on, like where their testing was, I am very curious to see what they come out with in that set, because it has to like completely nullify what Chain is doing right now, what Briar is doing right now. Like it has to be to the point where Ice is so not overpowered, but is so up there at the same level as an aggro deck that it's able to stop them in their tracks, right? We already know about the Frost Sheath or whatever the heck, the 1-for-5 D react that if you pitch a ice card, you give your opponent a frostbite. That's already enough for me to see and go, okay, there's going to be worth in these cards, right? Because aggro is going to have to really deal with ice, because not only can Icelander give one from Arsenal, but of course on top of it can give the D react to block out an attack as well, effectively just stopping your opponent's first attack and saying, all right, cool, you're an all red deck, pay 2 resources or pass. And it's like, okay, that's it. That's all you can do. So I'm very much so excited about what they're going to do with it. And I think it's probably going to be like, gosh, I'm probably going to buy so much Pen. I'm going to buy so much of that. That set's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it is super cool, because I think like seeing some of the comments that they spoiled so far have like drummed up a lot of the hype, where it's like, like before they spoiled anything, and I've done my own little bit of testing before like Compendium really was announced. I'm like, yeah, it feels really strong because there's not really any like defense reactions. Like I think it's a good thing they took out the generic defense reactions. It makes it feel like its own format in a way. But like, holy moly, like I throw Pummel, there's not really anything you can do about it.
Yep.
Like
unless you're Runeblade. Runeblades still have super good defense reactions.
0-for-5 defense reaction. The 0-for-4 is banned, but 0-for-5s, I'll let you have them.
Keep them. Let them have it. Let them have it. My gosh, it's just like, and then you look at Steelblade, Shunt. Like there's still so many like good class specific defense reactions, but I just think it's nice that like with the removal of Sinks and Fates and stuff, it's just like you're able to kind of level out that, of course, this goes in every deck. Why wouldn't you run this kind of deal? Yeah. So it makes it a lot stale, or a lot less stale, I should say, because you have that option to go, well, I have Pummel, but like, could my opponent theoretically stuff out a Pummel? Like Unmovable is still very much so a card in the format. So you could run that, but I don't know. I'm excited to see what's going to come out of there. And the fact that they specifically designed it so much around Silver Age, we're going to see a lot of these heroes in a different light than we have previously. And I think that's going to really be helpful to giving some heroes that maybe need that insane amount of help, assistance, and maybe even just like giving a slight bit of maybe a different angle on how to play a hero on maybe a hero or classes that are already like pretty good in the format.
And it's going to be so interesting to like see how they like take all these heroes that like haven't really been played in a lot of formats, because it's like, why would you play Betsy? It's like Bravo but mini. And why would you play Bravo? It's like Victor but mini. And it's like, okay, like here's a bunch of cards that play into these play styles. Like, oh, here's more Seismic Surge generation, which like Valda loves and the other Guardians are whatever on. Or like, here's this stuff that like if your attack gains Dominate, it gets this extra effect. Like Bravo would love that. And then like you give Betsy her log, and like Betsy has a deck now, and she's like, like it will be very cool to see like all these rares. And it has like 300 and something cards in the set, which is an insane amount of unique cards.
A big set, big set. So it's going to be providing a lot. Because, I mean, you got to think about it, right? I mean, it's an expansion set for, What are their like? I unless they're printing merchant support in there too, which I certainly do not expect them to do such a thing. You're probably, I mean, it's at least 11 classes worth of cards, and probably, you know, obviously talents are getting their own stuff too with the elemental stuff, and so there's a lot that they have to add. And you know, we've seen in the past that the supplemental sets always end up being the thing that most people will go back to as, oh, I need cards from that. Like those are staples inside my class's entire identity. You know, you need your Blade Runners and you need your Wild Rides, even though Wild Rides are reprinted in heavy hitters, but you know what I mean? Like it's very much so prevalent that these supplemental sets do add a lot of character and a lot of playstyle to heroes. And honestly, if I get to see Bolton shine in any format, I think it would be pretty cool. So we'll see if that actually happens.
Bolton is so cool. It would be very cool if we could get Bolton support. But
yeah,
I'm really excited for this. Like, and like I know the big push and thought is on like Silver Age, and I think it's super cool because like it makes every single rare and common like a lot more cool to open too. Like, instead of like, I pulled this common, whatever. Oh, I pulled this rare, whatever. I'm looking for the Majestics, just sorting through. It's like now you're like going through it, and it's like, how does this work in my deck? Like, how can I make it fit? Or even like if you're looking for Silver Age, it's like, man, I need these commons and rares for my deck. I'm digging like this. Like, you hit a Majestic, that's awesome too. But it's like, oh, like there's the common I needed, and I think it's gonna make like with Silver Age make the pack opening that much cooler too.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have, you know, you're gonna have people who are excited to open up that rare that they need from the set, right? Like, there's gonna be a lot more people physically trading cards with one another if they're like, oh yeah, you wanted to play, you know, Warrior in Sage, like that's awesome. I got this Warrior rare that, you know, you might want for your deck. I'll trade you for your Ranger card that you just pulled in, and it's like pennies, right? You're not going to be sitting there going like, actually, I think this rare is, you know, $2.75 on TCG Player. So like maybe we'll like, nobody's going to do that. You're dealing with bulk. Like you literally can just do that. Yeah. So it's really like that's going to be the benefit too, is that you're going to have a lot more people interacting with others and making those trades and truly just enjoying everything about the game. That, I mean, that was something that even initially that got me into the budget formats, was just that seeing so many people throw away bulk because they were just like, yeah, it's just cards I don't need. Like I already got all this stuff. It's cards that are just going to sit in my house. I'm like, there are people all around the world who would kill to have the bulk that you have in your hand right now because they want to be able to start up a community at their local scene, and they're unable to do so. And just to see people throw it away, I was like, nope, I can't have that. We have to start doing something. And so I think Sage is going to help push the want for that. It's going to stop people from wanting to, you know, just get rid of all the bulk and throw it away. It's going to implement more stores, probably having like bulk boxes for people to just pick things out of, right? So it's going to be good. I'm very, very excited for it.
Super excited. One thing I do want to like ask you specifically too is they did say that this is taking over Commoner. Like Commoner is on the way out.
Commoner was out back. It was brought out back and shot. It was something I expected because as somebody who was a proponent of Commoner, the format had a lot of problems. The format had not changed in like 3 years outside of the big weapon banning that they did, in which like they banned a whole bunch of these weapons and then also forgot about Reality Refractor and then let Enigma just like go wild for like, I don't know, 2 months and then go, we forgot about Reality Refractor. Like you could tell that it was not something that they truly like, not that they didn't care, right? I'm not going to say that it was like this big, okay, whatever. They're just like ditzing around, but it's something they didn't have the resources to continue to do. And frankly, with their knowledge of being years ahead, they knew that stage was going to be coming. So no real reason to like deep dive into it. It's not like it was being played. We had the one Battle Hardened that was Commoner, and it was, you know, what, 5 Icelander, 2 Ira, and an Oldhim. And it's like, that's what it was. Like, that's what the format had been for so long. And even still, with after that weapon banning, like, you go to a gold foil event I did the gold foil event at the World Championship. You don't even like get anything for not getting top 8. If you don't get top 8 in the gold foil event, you don't even get tickets. Like, it's like not anything worth like and it's like hours of your time spent for nothing. And so you either have to play one of like the 2 or 3 decks in the format that are actually viable, or waste your time. And I think that is not how, that's not, from a competitive standpoint, a good way to push a format, which is why I'm certain they kept it at a very basic side event level thing, because it's not something that they can fix, right? They're not injecting cards directly into this format like they are with Sage. They are quite literally just going, all right, well, yeah, okay, just keep playing Ira, I guess. Like, you can't just keep doing that. You'll always get to the top 8, more than likely. There's going to be, 30 Ira out of 50 people on a regular basis. And it definitely just needed to happen. I think that with Sage, it's doing the exact same thing that is the reason why I fell in love with Commoner, which is it's a format where you do not have to invest a lot of money. You have the ability to switch heroes very cheaply. If you wanted to ever try a hero in the World of Flesh and Blood, you can just spend 10 to 20 bucks on a bunch of commons if you don't already own them, and build a deck and play. And it was, very kitchen table-esque to be able to do that. And now, of course, Sage still fairly being, I would imagine, there's a world in which a lot of this can still be kitchen table, but there is a competitive aspect to it. And I do think that deck building is better when you have more than one rarity of a card in your deck. So I knew it was due to happen. And I'm not honestly upset about it. I'm kind of very happy that it went and it was replaced by Sage. I think everybody in the Commoner community knew that was going to happen. Most of the people I spoke to in the Commoner community, even when this was Project Blue, was just like, I'd much rather be playing that than playing Commoner. And I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of people would. That's why we had a lot of people move over from Commoner into Clash. Clash being the fan made format that still has a group of people playing it, but it's not anything like deep dive or anything. But that's why people moved into Clash, is because it was so much more thematic. You were able to do more with your hero, and it was still cheaper to play than it was Blitz or Classic Constructed. So this pretty much runs all those same things, and then is also being heavily supported by LSS, which is kind of the better thing there.
Yeah, and it's got to be cool to be in this like position where you like the Commoner and like Silver Age aspect, and go for like LSS. Like, it's a format, like you can play it, but we don't really test it because we just don't have the bandwidth to. Hey, it's a little more powered up. And this is a format we're focusing on, so it's tested. It's meant to be fun. Like, it's meant to be invested into and like play good games and this. It's got to be like a good feeling. So it's like I was wondering, because I knew you were a part of like the Commoner group, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh man, I wonder what he's thinking right now. Like,
it just means that I do exactly what I did already, which is upgrade all of my Commoner decks into Sage decks, and that's going to be my thing. I mean, I used to have my battle box was Commoner for a long time. For those of you who are not aware of my stuff, I do have a battle box I carry around with me. It's got like 10 decks in it usually, and it's just of multiple different heroes of different classes. And it's just budget builds that I bring around, so that way if people are interested in playing, or maybe they didn't bring a deck with them, that I have those with me. And they used to just be all Commoner, because that was like a format that was recognized at least. But now that Sage is a thing, I mean, I've updated just all those decks into Sage. I don't have anything that ties me super deep into Commoner outside of the fact that like I do, and I enjoy budget formats. Not much is changing, obviously, in the price of this format. So I'm not like, oh gosh, people's barrier of entry is being, completely blocked out again. It's still $20 for deck. You're still able to play multiple different heroes. It's effectively the same format. You just have rares in your deck now. So I'm happy about it. I think it's a change that they need to make because God, I could only imagine if they had kept Commoner around, it still wouldn't have gotten anything. I mean, nothing would have happened. No bans would have happened. No unbans would have happened. It wouldn't have been this big, like, what they're doing with Blitz, where like, instead of it's like, cool, just do whatever you want in this format. We don't care anymore. Like, whatever. Now it's like, no, like, just don't. Like, this does the same thing. Sage does the same thing Commoner is meant to do. Just get people into the game at a cheap rate and allow for variety to, to appease to more people. And that's why I'm such a proponent of Sage, is because it is just the better version of a budget format. So with Commoner leaving, it sucks. I know some people were pretty like diehard into Commoner specifically, but I do know that those people also did enjoy playing some Project Blue and now Sage. So, evolution, right? It's adapt or die. That's exactly what James White said in the dev talk, is adapt or die. And I don't think anybody's willing to die with Ira the format. So
yeah, the other thing I actually want to ask you too is like, what is like your thoughts on the like $20 decks that you can buy that come with like a pack?
I think it's great. I mean, like, I think that I'm not like I'm not a super hyper competitive individual.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but I like to be competitive, right? I like to have a good deck. I like to know that my deck is good and can perform very well at an event. At that point, it's just player skill over the deck itself, right? And I think that having those pre-made decks are going to be such a benefit for everybody at the LGS level, especially when, like, fingers crossed, more places do Sage Armory Nights, because that means that people can just come in, buy a deck off the shelf, sleeve it up, get in there, right? The sentiment between that and like back when the Armory decks came out is completely different, because you could sleeve up a KO Armory deck and bring it to your locals and play at a CC Armory, but let's be honest, you're not going to do very well, and you're not going to have a very good experience because you're going to go 0-4. But the problem there is that you have no skill into the game, unless of course you've been a TCG player previously, in which you have like a general idea, and a bad deck. Not a bad deck, but like a undertuned deck. Whereas here, you may not have the same player skill as other people there, but your deck, according to LSS, is calling worthy of a win right out of the box. Which means that you don't have to worry about deck building, what's more optimal, what isn't at the time, right? You can make those changes later if you want to invest yourself in the format, but $20, you just go in and go like, I like how Arachne Web of Deceit looks. I want that one. And they go, okay, cool. $20, please. Here you go. Go buy some sleeves. And you can go into any of these Sage armories, get a general idea and a feel for it. Not many decks are going to be like, at that point, it's just player skill, right? Player skill is what is going to showcase those events, and not so much just the price of the deck or the tuning of the deck to a meta or anything. If these decks are truly that powerful right out the gate, they're going to do exactly that, and they're going to be contenders for that. Now, of course, I think a lot of people have their doubts about that, but we don't know what comes out in Pen, right? There are going to be cards from Pen inside those decks. I hope there's not exclusive cards that only come in those decks, just because that's going to be really bad at a local area, a local scene. And the other thing is, I really hope that stores are not barred from only buying a certain amount of them, right? This is a product that is necessary for the growth of the format and the growth of the game at this level. And so if stores have to have like a certain amount of attendance for their stuff in order for them to have these on their shelves, it's going to feel bad. It's going to be a lot of places they're going to have to buy these at like MSRP online. You're going to have to buy them from other stores, and it's not going to feel good as as somebody who has the distributor relation to LSS. But that's obviously I have a lot of faith in LSS to do the right thing. I know that LSS is very transparent in what they do, and I'm always very thankful that they are transparent in that way. So we'll have to see, but I think that they're fantastic. I think it's cool they come with a pack because it just means people can probably pull something fun out of the pack. It gives you a deck opening and a pack opening, which is like two different like levels of TCG like enjoyment. Is you got a whole deck you can play with, and then you also get to gamble a little bit. So I think it's gonna be good. I think they're very much so long as they don't need to be truly deeply like overhauled entirely. I think the decks are going to be pretty competitive for what they're worth.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool to be able to have someone that's new to the game buy in, like with a deck and come in. Because I always feel bad when like someone's like starting to get into the game. They've been to the armory a couple weeks with their deck that they've built out of the scraps and this, that, and another thing, and they're like, "Man, what could I be doing better?" I'm like, "Well, you've learned your deck. You've done a lot of things very well. Do you have a Tunic?" Like,
yep, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
That always feels so bad to like go to a new player and be like, well, "You did well, but like Blossom of Spring activates once against the Guardian, while Tunic activates like 30 times against the Guardian."
Yes.
So I recommend you take the step and get this. And it's a big investment. And I think it is like cool that someone that can play Silver Age, play this competitive and fun deck without having to like invest a lot in like worst case scenario, like one, if your play style is a little different than the deck's built, but also two, like say maybe there's 2 or 3 cards in the deck that need to be changed out. They're commons and rares, they're pennies. Like people will give you those too. Like,
yep.
I have way too much bulk. And if anyone just hit me up and was like, "Jacob, like I need a disable blue, like the deck didn't come with it, but it's necessary for Guardian," I'd be like, "I'll see you at the next armory. I'll bring you 2 disable blues." Like, I think that's the other thing too about this format is like you don't have the cards you want. Like I'm sure there's someone in your community that's like, "I'll give you it." Like
there is a bulk hoarder somewhere in your community. I promise you. If it's not one person, it's several people, and they're all located throughout. It's truly going to be such a thing. I mean, I certainly don't expect like the rares or commons to spike heavily in price. Obviously, I know we're seeing things like that with some of them right now, but again, like $1 is not the end of the world. When it's like $10 for an Arcane Polarity, we'll talk, right? Like that's a problem. That's a big issue. But currently it's like, okay, we're playing in a format that's popular enough that people want to get into it. So the market is eating up a lot of those cards. People aren't asking their local players. They're instead just buying things from TCG Player. And it ends up being this thing where, we're going to get to the point where it's going to fall through and people are going to go, okay, cool. It's all just pennies for these cards. We should just be trading them amongst each other and having a good time and getting each other prepped and ready for the format. Because the best thing about it is that you can, like, there are competitive, like hyper competitive money on the line events for Silver Age. So it's not just like, okay, cool, you're prepping for a side event at a Pro Tour. Like you're prepping for an invite to the Pro Tour. Like that's pretty big.
That's pretty cool.
So we love to see that. It gives people an incentive for them to kind of focus on the format and really learn a lot about it. And also on top of it, just like, again, I cannot stress enough, you don't have to invest anywhere near the amount of money you have to invest in as you do in Classic Constructed at all. It's insane because imagine, right? Let's imagine the 15th comes around and Verdance loses Waning Moon and Healing Potion. right? In the same vein, they're just like, kill it, right? Forget about it. Just kill the hero entirely. What do Verdant's players now have to do in order for them to compete in this RTN season coming up? They have to get a new hero. Like, they have to do something different. Mm-hmm. And that requires them to spend hundreds of dollars, if they don't already have the cards, to swap to a new hero. Whereas in Sage, it's like, okay, cool. What happened? Did my hero get banned because we did the community banning and my hero's not available anymore? Can all of these cards go into Terra instead of Oldhim? I guess not the ice cards, but I can play all the earth cards and still play Terra. Like, that's kind of cool. And you still can do kind of the same thing. And it costs you like nothing. It costs you nothing to switch over. Besides, unless you have like, you blinged out your deck. And at that point, it's like, just keep all your stuff because eventually that hero will be unbanned. So,
yeah, I was like, you were talking about this and I was like thinking like, it would be cool to like make a video about like how hard is it to make like a Sage deck for free. And like, I thought about that for like 3 seconds and I'm like, if I had a new player come to me and be like, hey, I don't even have $20. Would you be able to get me these cards for a Sage deck? I'll be like, I'll build you the Sage deck. Give me a week. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I wouldn't even be a challenge. Like, I'm sure you like could go to someone. I have, and like Arcane Polarity, I probably have 100 of them. I probably have way too many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if I made you a $30 deck out of commons and rares, and you're like, I got the money, let me pay you back. I'd be like, I don't care. Just take the deck. Right. You're like, doing me a favor, honestly. But...
yeah, I'd much rather somebody at least, like, if I can see in their eyes that they're really wanting to get into the game and I have to drop, oh no, right, I didn't make $20.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Like, oh no, like, that's not the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
I'll very much so. I want to make sure that people get into the game. I want to make sure that this is something that people are consistently wanting to go and, oh yeah, I always thought about playing Flesh and Blood, but I never really wanted to get into it because I heard it was really expensive. A lot of the media that they consume is saying the game's way too expensive, and I'm just like, heads up, you don't have to pay a dime. Come to Saturday night casual nights. I have 10 decks on me already. I'll teach you how to play. And honestly, if I teach you to play, we play 5 games and you beat me in any one of those 5 games, I'll let you take the deck home. You can just have it. Because it's that, like, I would much rather that be the experience a player has than a player be like, oh, God, okay, yeah, I guess this common is $2. I need 2 of them. And, if I don't buy them now, then I'm going to never see them again. Whereas, like, people like you and I are just like, please get them out of my house. Please get these things out of my house. Like, I don't want them to be here. So if I turn this camera around, you would believe the nonsense that's behind this thing. It is crazy. So anything to help new players get in, and it's a worthy time for sure.
Yeah, it's like I'm super excited for Sage. Like, I think it's super cool, and I think it's such a good entry point. And like, I know I mentioned before, like, I have some friends that I'm like waiting for those Sage decks to come out. Like, one, because I'm sure they'll have cards that make the heroes that they like more like viable, and even if I have to buy them or if I pull them, I can build the deck. But it's like, I have a few friends that like Flesh and Blood, but again, it's just really expensive. It's a casual game.
Yep.
And it's something where it's like, well, I'm not gonna give them a full CC deck that's like $1,000 sometimes. Like, it's like, I can't give you that. Like, I'll let you borrow it. Like, I let them play with it whenever they come over.
Right.
But it's like, with like Sage, it's gonna be super cool because I'll be able to like build that deck or buy that deck and give it to them and be like, hey, like, I have a friend that loves Fi, and not that he's super expensive, but I'm not gonna give him like my Cold Foil Flame Scale Furnace so he can play the game. Like,
exactly.
But I can be like, oh, here's the Fi deck. I have all the commons and rares, or I bought the deck for you for $20. Have it. Like, and then now he can play Flesh and Blood whenever he wants with his friends, or if he comes over, it feels so much cooler to have your own deck that you can bring over instead of like always borrowing a deck. Even if it's the same deck, if I have it or you have it, it's like, it feels cool to own something like that. So it's cool because like I can step in and be like, hey, I have all these casual friends, and even if they only play casually, like, boom, you all have your own decks now. Like,
yep,
you didn't have to do anything, and I gave you competitive, fun decks. something that's supported and really easy to play with. So it's like I'm super excited. Like it's gonna be cool.
It's great. It's great. Plenty of opportunity for new players to come in. Plenty of opportunity just to continue to make a format fun and enjoyable. And I mean, like, as far as it being even competitive, like, talking it, if you're really deep down into a competitive scene, I mean, it sounds like, again, like they're balancing the format pretty well, hopefully, fingers crossed. But even still, with that being the case, having some heroes being banned in future seasons is going to be pretty relevant overall. Just so that way you're not seeing the same thing, right? You're not dealing with what people were dealing with in Commoner, which is Ira the format, right? You could, if it truly is a problem and it's getting 5 out of the 8 spots in a top 8 all the time, the LSS can make bans to the cards, and then we could eventually wait for a season to occur. Maybe those bans affected other heroes at the time, and then when bans come around, you can ban a hero. But I mean, speaking of the bans, right? Just kind of our last topic, I guess, on Sage, or at least as far as what we've got here, is just the voting system, right? This is something that LSS obviously has not done in previous things. I'm sure obviously it was talked about in previous episodes of podcast here, but we got some clarification that you do need to play a Sage event in Gem in order for you to vote. So you can't just like be MIA from Flesh and Blood for 6 months, pop up, and then be like, oh, all right, cool, I guess I get to vote. I didn't like this hero in Classic Constructed. They've got to be awful in this format too. Let's ban them, right? But on top of that, you only get 1 vote. So you just vote for the hero you don't want to see, and the top 3 heroes will get banned. And that's how the voting system will work for Sage. But of course, Pen is not the voting season yet. It's actually going to be the set after. So set 19, whenever that comes out, is going to be the set that we start seeing hero bans. But it'll give people a whole season to kind of take a look at what Pen did for the format and how it brought up things. And I'm almost certain that we're going to see people who just like hate playing against Azalea, right? That's what they hate to play against. If that's the case, and it's really oppressive, like maybe they're only playing Sage locally, and they went to a Sage ProQuest, and it was an awful time because a bunch of locals were really on Azalea or really on Oldhim, and that was their experience in the format. They can vote based on that if that's something that they want to do. Whether or not the rest of the world is also going to vote that same way depends on people's experience. But at least giving people 1 vote, it's going to help. You're not going to be botted. There's not going to be bots everywhere just trying to vote down certain heroes, or people trying to scam people out of not being able to play other heroes that maybe they don't want, people making poorly made decisions while voting. I'm curious to see how it's going to work out, and I really hope that it doesn't bite LSS in the butt for that.
I think that you have to play an event to vote is very good. I think it's a huge thing, because like, as much as like I wasn't a fan of LL, I never played LL. I never played it in a sanctioned event. Like, and I think like if I was able to vote in that, I probably would have made a bad decision, just because like like maybe it would have been the same decision, but I wasn't informed. I never played the format. It could have been like something where it's like, oh, that's like, yeah, it's broken, but all LL is broken, and I actually really enjoy playing against this deck. But it's like, I think it's going to be a similar thing with Sage, where it's like you said, like, I didn't like playing them in CC. They LL'd way too fast in CC. They were way too good in CC. They must be great in Sage, and I'm not playing Sage until this hero is gone.
Yeah.
And so you vote it out without actually playing. And I also think not only is it something where you have your own biases, I think you also playing the format, or like being forced to play the format, you also take out a lot of the biases you have from hearing other people talk about the format. Like, say you're listening to like Arsenal Pass or the Runaways, or listening to me and Cody talk every week about how we hate this one hero in Sage, or me say Valdus broken. Like you can play the format, hear what I say, and be like, okay, my experience is completely different. Like, you may think that, but you have your own personal experience to be like, I get what you're saying. maybe I didn't like Valda. She does feel really strong, but like, man, I really didn't like how Bravo played. Like,
Exactly.
I personally want this to be gone. And I think that is a much healthier way because it's like, it forces you to have your own input. Even if it's a one sided thing, like, you hear, like, us talking on a podcast about how this is broken. You're just like, but I like that hero. Like, or I've played this and like, or I played against that hero and I actually enjoy the play pattern. It's something where you have your own input and you have something to say on your own. And it might be confirming, like, oh, you're 100% correct. But I think it's very good. I think it's good to have this kind of debate, this discussion. And it means a lot more than just hearing something and repeating it because it makes sense because it's from a player you trust.
Right. I mean, again, like you know, exactly as you mentioned, right? You take a look at, people's disdain for LL before Worlds, and that was all just because most media you would consume through YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or whatever was just like LL's bad, format's bad, it's Runebladed hell. Why would you ever want to play that? You're wasting your time. This should never be a thing in the top whatever. And if that was a way for them to just say, okay, people can run their mouth about the things that they don't like and influence other people's decisions to make a choice on their behalf, that's bad, right? That is bad. And that was a fear of mine. Not that not that I'm out here like, some big influencer or whatever, right? Like pushing the agenda of, Betsy's strongest hero in Sage Banner, right? Even if that were to be the case, you as a player who is not playing Sage currently can't just log into Gem and ban Betsy. You know what I mean? Like you're not able to just go, oh, you know what? I trust this man with my life for some reason because I'm parasocial and he's a person on the internet who knows more than 5 people. He's got to have some kind of say in regards to the way that this format is run. And that was my worry, is how many people were going to just hear my opinion on the meta and say, you know what, Alex, you're right. I do think that based on the games that you have shown me on Talishar or in paper or whatever, that this hero is broken and needs to be banned, and then proceed to just like make a vote on my behalf. I'd much rather somebody go play at a Sage event and go play at a showdown. I mean, there's like 36 callings this next coming year. Like, go play at a showdown and tell me how you felt about the format playing a hero that you just really wanted to play. Right? Did you feel like there was too many chain? Did you feel like you had no agency when you played into Oldhim? Like,
yeah.
Tell me your experience. I'd much rather that be the way that you decide your vote than hearing, somebody like us go online and just say, yeah, I love Decimator Olympia, but I can't beat Briar. So I think Briar just needs to like be banned entirely because I can't beat her on Decimator Olympia. And you should also ban Briar because I can't beat her on Decimator Olympia and I want to win a showdown. Like, that's bad. It's bad. It's bad. And I don't want anything to do with that. So that's why I'm very happy that it's not something that can be manipulated in that way. Unless, of course, when they mean Sage event, they mean showdowns and not like you went to an armory. Because I could see people just going to like one Sage armory like in the year and just being like, I went there, I played a round and then I dropped, but I get to make a vote. So
even then, I find it a little better than people that just refuse to play Sage. Like,
that is correct, yeah.
Like, I could see it being an armory, and especially with it being like a 3-month period, you're still a little more relevant on your information. It's not like I played in January, and I get a vote because I played in an armory in January and November, so I'm taking out this hero. So it's like, even if it's just like you're required to go out to an armory, like that's totally fine by me.
Yeah,
but it's something where it's like, I would hate for it to be like, I don't go to Sage armories because I don't want to play against Azalea. I don't want to do this. So that's where I'm like, I'm really excited. And I think that's like, I'm still interested to see how this goes. I was really anxious initially to see how it went. but I'm like that made like put a lot more confidence in
Yeah.
me on like how that ban system's gonna work. And it's gonna be interesting to see a format without the LL system in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything, I mean, they would have had to do weird point system things, and like they obviously are always making changes to the LL system. The fact that they did the whole thing with Blitz, where Blitz was 500, and then they were like, just kidding, that's silly. We're at 1,000. Just kidding. We actually don't care about Blitz. We're going to get rid of the format. And then the point system for the CCLL system. Like, I think every year, and I kid you not, at least in my understanding of Flesh and Blood, in my journey, I think the LL system has changed like 4 or 5 times. Whether it be the amount of points that are given at certain events, to it being that certain points are only given during this, or maybe they're giving out percentages as opposed to giving out actual like physical points, like 2 points per win or whatever, like they were previously. Like the it has evolved and changed over time. It has never been the same as it was back when I started in 2022. And I don't expect it to stay the way it is even now. I expect there to be changes that are constantly made to it. And so I'm assuming that what this is because it's an easier format for entry, and it's not something that is as money centered, I guess, where people have to switch heroes if something bad happens to theirs. They can just kind of do whatever they want to try things out and try new things. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sage is just the format where they're like, we just gotta, we'll beta test some stuff in the format and we'll see how things go. And if this is something that is well received, maybe we see it in Classic Constructed. Maybe we see it in Living Legend, right? Maybe it's what Living Legend needed in order for Living Legend to be a format that people would enjoy more. If people knew that they could just ban Starvo or Viserai or Briar and allow for other heroes to take the limelight or the spotlight, I think that would have been something that would have been very interesting. So I guess we'll just have to see what it turns out to be, really.
Yeah, and it is super interesting, and it's like LL is like an ever evolving system. They bring it up all the time. Like it's never just the same. But I'm really interesting to see, and like bringing up like banning the hero. They are coming back, and it's something that I think also you having to play into event can also affect that, because like, oh man, when I first played Sage, Chain was terrible. We banned Chain, now he's coming back. But I didn't actually get to play LL this last 3 months because it's just been crazy in my life. I'm just gonna vote Chain though, because like I don't want him coming back.
Right.
And then like, well, you didn't play. They actually banned some cards from Chain, or because this one hero exists now that came out, or this thing or this interaction exists now. Chain's terrible. Like, Chain's not good, but people still like to play Chain, but you banned them anyways because of what you felt 2 seasons ago and not what you felt this season.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of player sentiment towards certain things and just like experiences they've had in previous iterations of their favorite format that will help, that it'll drive their understanding. I think everybody who has played Flesh and Blood for more than 6 months knows about Chain and knows that Chain's hero ability is just really good. But if it, what I imagine is because apparently what's happening is there's the hero can get banned for the season, and then when they will be unbanned for the next season, and then the season after, if they're banned again, they'll be banned for 2 seasons, and that just accumulates over time. So what I imagine is that gives LSS some time to work on, okay, we know these heroes are becoming unbanned during this next season. What do we do to prepare ourselves for that? Because we know that's going to happen. Do we pre-ban cards that we know were good in the hero 2 seasons ago? Or do we think that the format has evolved enough and we've added more stuff into the game to where, the hero is still very powerful, but it's more balanced compared to the 3 other heroes that are currently in the top spots? So there's plenty of opportunity for change. I mean, so much. I mean, gosh, even in 2 seasons, like a hero being banned for 2 seasons, so much can happen because
Yeah, that's
I mean,
like
it's three to 4 months of time in a season. And so
yeah,
you imagine like 2/3 of the year
it's
you're
like
not able to play this
7 months,
hero.
8 months. Yeah, this
Uh-huh.
hero's gone.
Like you're able to do a lot. There's a lot of change that can happen. You know, there's mastery pack things that people are that they're going to be coming out with. There's little supplemental sets here and there. Um, it's I mean, it's not always going to be the same. And I think the format's always going to be changing as long as LSS continues to, inject cards into the format, really treat it like they're treating Classic Constructed right now. We're going to see a very, very well performing format
Yeah.
from every angle. So, yeah.
Little like fairy tale like thought I have is like 30 years down the line, I can only imagine like the hype that's gonna generate from Sage when something's like Chain's coming back after being banned for 3.5 years. Like he's been banned continuously. Like he's coming back. He's been gone for 3.5 years. Like this is a huge moment. He's been gone for 12 seasons. Like I can only imagine the hype, and it's like it's got to be like super cool and like interesting to have that kind of like regenerative the reintroduction of a hero after they've been gone for years at a time.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it, right? Like, that's the opportunity. It's kind of where, like, that sentiment of LL comes in, right? Is that the heroes have been gone for so long and so many new cards have come out for that class and talent that you just think, gosh, I wish this hero could have seen these during CC. Oh, like, wow, what this hero would have been if they had access to these things during Classic Constructed. And that's exactly it, is you're going into this and, if a hero is gone for 7 seasons and then they come back and it's just like, all right, what do we think, community? Like, do we think Chain's pretty crazy? And you'll see people who will more than likely still try to rep the hero because obviously we know what broken stuff looks like. But is that hero really going to be? Did they get anything in the 7 seasons they were gone? Right? What truly affected the hero that's going to make them better? There's no way they didn't print new Runeblade stuff. There's probably a sense that they printed some Shadow stuff. So what did we really get? And so I think it just also increases the amount of deck building you get to do, right? You get to see this hero come out of retirement and you get to enjoy them for a season. And if they're not that bad, then nobody has to vote them out. If something better is already existing in the format, or maybe people are just tired of playing into this hero and they're just like, I'd rather this be shooken up and we all ban this hero instead, that's also an option. But so many heroes come out during a year. Like there's always going to be options for you to play in every class, in every talent. And that's really what I think is going to help drive it, is that there's always going to be something for somebody, no matter who's banned.
Yeah. There's so much that like I love about this so far. Like, and there's so many cool thoughts, and I'm so excited. So it is a format that I'm really excited for. And it's, as someone that like barely played anything out of CC, this is like the first format like I see all the stuff that's going on in the background. And like rares, I feel like add so much flavor to each class. Where it's like the commons make up the class, the rares add the flavors. Yeah, the majestics do that too. But like that's where you go from like commoner, where generally when I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's just a guardian deck, to like in Sage, where I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's guardian, but I can see the like seismic surge generation to give Valda's dominate. Like, okay, I see where you're coming from now. Like, oh, here's this, and their like special thing about them because of this rare card. It's like you're adding that extra flavor. So it's like there's so much about it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with things like, specializations. We know that rare specializations already exist with like Chain and with Levia and with Phi, Dromai, all them. So like I wouldn't be surprised if they're just like, hey, this hero's really wanting something. Let's give them, let's give them Raiden. Let's give Bolton Raiden, but like a Bolton specialization at like rare, and make it specifically that it maybe instead of it coming in for 3, it comes in for 2. And it's like, okay, cool. Like we can make that happen. and have it be a Boltyn specialization, so that way any light warriors they make in the future don't get to utilize that same concept. They'll have a play style that's different. So again, the future of Flesh and Blood is looking so bright, and I'm super excited to see what they add into everything, every format that I play. But Sage is for sure. I mean, I can't get enough of it already. The fact that I stay up super late to edit a bunch of videos for Sage, to just talk with people in the community about Sage, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool. But to finally like put Sage aside and move on, I think like the last thing to talk about in the dev talk was them talking about supplemental sets. And they talked about how like the last two sets, like Compendium of Wraith is non-draftable, obviously. And the last set is not like it's draftable, but not to the extent in which they normally want, because it's just not competitively viable past the first couple weeks. Yeah. And there's some challenges because of how they built it. But the next 4 sets are definitely draftable.
Yeah, it's going to be, at least I know a lot of people really do enjoy the draft or limited environments. I get a kick out of playing sealed, right? I think playing sealed at pre-releases is super fun. I'm apparently pretty good at draft, because anytime we were doing draft for like High Seas or we were doing draft for the Hunted, I did pretty dang well for myself for not really having a whole lot of draft experience. So it ended up being something that, I mean, I certainly enjoy. Usually it's like $15 you buy into a draft and you get some cards to go home with, like you're playing it, you're prizing and so on and so forth. And it's all just contained within that. Having
you that happen.
Sorry, I knew I did, and I was just like, wait a minute, I felt it deep in my bones. But anyway, like the fact that it's all contained within a box is really, really good. Oh, yeah. And I think that helps, obviously, drive sales for prices and stuff like that, whereas supplemental sets initially did not drive a lot of sales, because people would just wait for stores to open up boxes. They just buy the cards they want for their class, because they don't need, people who really enjoy Ranger don't need Guardian, Brute, Assassin, Ninja, Illusionist cards. They don't need those. They need Ranger cards, right? That's what they want. And so instead of buying sealed product to purchase something that is more Ranger focused, right? Instead, they're just like, well, I'll just wait till somebody else opens it and then I'll get the stuff from them. So sales usually are the ones that hurt the most. But when it comes to draft sets tend to sell more, because again, it's a board game within a box pretty much. And also due to, the previous, world tours and stuff like that, it was a competitive format. So people who are competitive in the game would need to practice that in order for them to get prepared for nationals or the world championships or anything of the sort there. So I think that's going to help. Obviously, I love seeing the draft environments. The past 2 years of draft environments have been insane for Flesh and Blood. Fun. So good. And like, sure, maybe they misstepped a little bit on Super Slam, but I don't think it was like that bad. I just think that like they didn't have the opportunity to really push a little bit more. They had mentioned that they kind of wanted to have a little bit more events for draft, more PQs or something, or more callings or something that could have been draft for them to kind of get people excited about it. But I'm always blown away by the draft environments of any of the stuff LSS comes out with. And I do think, though, that every now and again, it is important that they do make a supplemental set, because it helps so much, so much to have a supplemental set. Because if you don't, you're gonna get, if it's been a year and you went a whole year and you didn't get a single warrior card besides the like 2 that they put in an expansion slot, you're not gonna feel good about your place in Flesh and Blood. Whereas like, now if there's every now and again an expansion set that maybe switches the entire way Guardian is, or the Guardian Warriors played. You take a look at a lot of the stuff for Dynasty. They came out with a bunch of this axe support, and people were like, "What the heck is that? Axe support? Like, cool, that's got to be awesome." And then you took one look at Merciless Battle Axe, and you were like, "This is awful. Nothing about this is good. This doesn't do anything." And so people ignored it for forever. And now, they come out with Decimator Great Axe, and people are like, "Well, it's a better axe, but you still aren't going to play Decimator Great Axe Warrior anywhere because you'd much rather just play the two-handed variety of it, or the two-weapon variety." And I think that those are the things you want to look forward to whenever new things drop, because it'll help flesh those things out. We'll now see axes probably happen more often in Sage. It gives them places in other formats, and it just helps every class, as opposed to waiting for that one set that comes out with those things that say, it's like you are very lucky to know that Mastery Pack Guardian was the Valda set. You know what I mean? Like, that was the set. If that was just like baseline Guardian stuff, and it was like we just introduced Valda into CC, it probably would not have had as much of an impact. A seismic impact, if you would.
Well, yeah.
But
it wouldn't have as much of an impact on me personally. I think it generally probably would have had more of an impact if it was more generalized, but
yeah. It's for sure something that every now and again you just need to put something in there. The fact that Master Pack Guardian had a gravy card in it was just like the weirdest thing ever. But it is like, I don't expect it to be that insane, but I'm just happy to see them, because it truly is. It's also a great way to bring reprints in. Obviously, we know that there's going to be a lot of reprints in the supplemental set. So for the people who are fiending for trying to get reprints of some of these really powerful Majestics that maybe they can't get a hold of because the sets were underprinted or didn't, had allocation issues, I think that it gives a window of opportunity for that to happen. So always welcome.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of really good things. I think you summarized a lot very well. But it's like, there's a lot of good things with like supplemental sets, like the supporting of all the classes and all of that. Mm-hmm. And like reprints. I think the reprints we're seeing are amazing. I'm so happy to see Fabled reprints. Like, thank God. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of people have been waiting for this, but it's like, it's exciting to see a lot of what they're doing with the supplemental set. And it was it was really interesting, because like, I remember when supplemental sets left, a lot of people were like, thank God we don't have to have any of these formats that just don't mean anything and don't do anything. Mm-hmm. And then it's been like a year and a half, 2 years, maybe more. And people have been like, I've seen a little more sentiment of like, man, we really need a supplemental set. Like, getting just a couple heroes at a time, it's tough to wait for this hero to come out. Or like, even with like Guardian Mastery Pack, it was tough to wait like a year just for that to come out and be the first support for Guardian in a very long time. So it's like, I do think like it's really like integral that you do come out with these every once in a while. Although like, I think their cadence at one point was crazy amounts of supplemental sets, where it was like draft set, supplemental, draft, supplemental. And I think it's just the infrastructure they had. It is like something where I think it's like them coming out and saying like, hey, they're back. They're not back like all the time, but they're coming back because they are a necessary thing for this game. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, being able to have them at a cadence that isn't once a year, right? I mean, once a year hurts. Again, I think that with the growth that Flesh and Blood is at right now, we are going to see this supplemental set sell a lot. But that's just because we haven't seen one in so long. Yeah. And of course, there were great reprints in it, right? Like they're doing a lot. Previous supplemental sets were not reprints. It was like slight introductions to other thing, right? You look at Crew. Crew was just like, okay, let's add a couple new cards to the heroes that or the classes we already have. And then let's also add in more young heroes, right? Just to be like, okay, cool. It's like make Kasai Centauri Sellsword or Benji or any of these things like that didn't exist previously. Let's add a little bit more of that. And then you look at Everfest, and Everfest was just like, here's Starvo. Here's like an ice wizard that you could play in the young hero format. Super cool stuff, but not like a Command and Conquer reprint or like a Tunic reprint. Like Crew had a Tunic reprint, but that was also like really close to WTR, where a lot of people were still opening it. So you see, you're given the opportunity to where now it's like, then you move to Dynasty. Dynasty, all it really did was make a bunch of new cards that nobody ended up using in their deck, and also introduce Assassin, which also was unplayable right out of the box. So it was rough for Dynasty. Dusk Till Dawn came out again, a bunch of stuff that like people were looking at Dusk Till Dawn and they were like, this was a draft set. There was at some point had to have been a draft capability for this set, and it just didn't fly. There were so many cards in there that been thrown away because you're not playing cards that care about your opponent's soul in Classic Constructed, because it just does not matter, right? None of that matters. But to see a supplemental set that says we're gonna inject a bunch of stuff into a format they're looking to support, and then also on top of it make it so where they're gonna just give more support to everything and it not be this very niche light and shadow only, or introduce a new class only supplemental set, it's going to help a lot more. We're going to see a lot more of it looking like Everfest, I'd imagine, than Dynasty.
I think if it looks like Everfest or Crucible of War, I think this set is a huge success. And I say if it looks like that, it's definitely going to be a huge success. But like from how it's been formatted, how it's been told, how it's been showed off, like this is going to be one of those sets where it's like, oh, we talk about Dynasty because of how bad it was. We talk about Crucible because of how good it was at introducing new things. We talk about how Everfest, about how powerful it was. Like those are some like key mark sets. Like we're gonna I feel like a couple of years down the line we're gonna be like, well, Compendium was so key for the game for this reason, and this is like it feels like it's one of those sets like Crucible of War where it's like people look so fondly on it because of what it did, and like that's what I'm like hoping the output is, and that's what it looks like so far. It looks like something that's going to implement so much that changes the game for the better.
Yep. And it doesn't have to worry about being like a good draft set, I mean, you take a look at Bright Lights, right? Bright Lights was the introduction of the expansion slot, and people were like, okay, cool. Well, that's a great way to kind of introduce things without it being a supplemental set. And I'm sure even now that we know they're doing supplemental sets, I'm sure they're not going to get rid of expansion slots in future draftable sets, because that is obviously a big win for Flesh and Blood in general. But like Bright Lights is noted as one of the worst sets just because people didn't like the draft, people didn't like the sealed, people didn't like the crack shuffle play, and it was only Mechanologist, right? So like if you were not interested in Mechanologist, you just waited for somebody else to pull a Tunic or a Dust of the Chrome Caverns, and you just purchased it from them. And it's just, okay, cool. Like, I don't need to buy a whole box. I can just buy the one card that I need from the expansion slot, and that's it. Yeah. So I definitely think this is going to be a super big set. I'm going to buy a lot of it. I think it's going to be a set that's going to go up in price pretty quickly after people just buy a ton of it. And fingers crossed we don't have any allocation issues, because God, if what happens to that happened to, High Seas or Rosetta, we are going to be in a bad spot, but we'll see.
I mean, it looks like they've solved a lot of the allocation issues. I at least hope so, because like Super Slam felt super fine. Like, and like from like a weird perspective, I was like, I'm super excited for this set, obviously, but I'm like, I was hoping for a set I didn't have to spend money on. Like, I've just had Guardian Mastery Pack, Super Slam. Like, I saw that and like, Guardian's not getting support in the next set. I can save my money. And then they're like, by the way, supplemental's back. I'm like, no, I have to spend my money again.
You have to spend your money. You get like Shelter reprints, Tunic reprints. You get Fabled reprints. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, you got me. I guess I'm going to buy Case. Like,
I'm in. Like, you're telling me Guardian's getting a third set in a row, like
exactly. You're in. You're never stopping. You're always buying product.
just never ending apparently. But it's cool, and I'm excited, and I know that they said their plan for the like not guaranteed. They said we can't guarantee this, but our next plan for the supplemental sec is in year 10, which is actually really far away.
Yeah,
like that's 4 years away from now. But it is like a cool idea to know that they have plans to bring him back probably when it's necessary. We, in all honesty, probably will see another supplemental set somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah.
But it is like cool to see them looking so far into the future. And I mean, they said the next 4 sets. They've planned what is a year and almost a half into the future. They have 4 sets. Like,
they're prepped.
They're prepped. Like they have got. It's like cool to see that they're so far ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows their growth. You know, it shows their stability. They mentioned during the dev talk that they consider themselves the quiet winners of the TCG space, in which like they're not as loud about their successes, about these other things, but deep down they know and they see the data, they see the growth of the game, they see the population grow in the flesh and blood space, and it allows them to plan that far ahead. I mean, the fact that they're celebrating their 20th set milestone, like they have everything already set up for their 20th set milestone. They don't have to go, oh well, we have to wait for our fans to kickstart, finish this Kickstarter so that way we can get our next set out so we can prepare for this thing. It's like they're ready. They're already set up for this. They're years in advance. They've already tested 4 sets to get people prepped for certain things, and that gives confidence in people who are looking to play the game to say that this is going to be around for a long time. This is not this is not something you're going to join and then the game's going to disappear off the face of the earth tomorrow. Like the game is very much so past its very beginner states. Like we are far into the well-established TCG space by now.
Yeah.
So
it's no longer in its infancy.
Exactly.
I could say it's probably in its teenage years, or because I think there's still some awkward spots and they haven't really defined themselves like in certain categories. But it's like you can definitely see what is like the game it's meant to be at this point. You can see the direction. You have confidence. They know what they're doing. So it is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good dev talk. Like,
yeah,
I was really anxious because I know people have been asking for a dev talk for a long time, and I was at work when it was posted, and I'm like driving home, and I was getting ready to drive home, and I was gonna put it on while I was driving home, and I'm like, oh man, like what are people's responses? Like, are people not gonna be happy? Because I know with like the last dev talk, it was like the introduction of Sage, but they didn't really introduce a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm so worried that this is gonna go south, because like the last one didn't go well, and I think people were expecting a lot in this dev talk. Like they were expecting this kind of level. But then I was like, okay, well, let me open up social media, see what people are saying right now, and the sentiment's been really good across the board. And I was like, oh, thank God, like this, like. Obviously, they went into a lot of detail. They said what people wanted to hear, and like it looks like they're going in the correct, like a good direction. Which I mean, it's LSS, they are. I think it's like I think it was super cool to be able to like sit back for a few hours, open up social media, and see everyone like, oh, this is such a good dev talk. Like it was so informative. Glad to see them talk about all this. So I was like, oh man, okay, this is exciting. This is going to be something I can really dig into. So that was awesome.
Yeah, always good to see positive sentiment about anything there. I know that there's just we want to see that they're putting effort towards stuff, and we can see that they're putting effort towards Sage. Mm-hmm. People wanted to know why Blitz was just like forgot, because the way that they introduced that Blitz was leaving in their last skirmish season, it wasn't like this big, all right, let's sit people down and tell them that the Blitz is gone. They're just like, by the way, Blitz is leaving, okay, bye. And they wanted to put some more emphasis on that as to why that is. And, then they were just like, yeah, this is also what's happening to Commoner. There was a lot of moving and changing of the of the formats on the actual main page. Like once Worlds was done and Living Legend dropped from a constructed format to a other format, it was, people were like, okay, like what are we going to do about this? And this was the answer. This was what people wanted when it came down to this, because it allowed them to understand why changes were made, where the future of the game is going, and how much emphasis they're putting into Sage, as well as still hoping to make shifts in Classic Constructed to make it fun and exciting.
It was really cool. I'm excited to see it. I'm hoping we get more dev talks. And that's really what I got to say about all of that.
Yeah, that's about it. I've got nothing else. It was just really informative. I just love hearing from LSS. Anytime I get to actually hear like a word from LSS, whether it be good or bad, like the transparency of the company is what drew me in, on top of the dragon lady. I quite literally, it was the fact that coming from Magic and moving into here, the transparency of the company was so much more relevant than it was in Magic, and that was what kept me. I knew that I could put my trust in this company to tell me what they're working on, to tell me what their 5-year plan is, to tell me that they're planning on making these things, and they're human and they make mistakes. And that is something that I need whenever I'm going to be dedicating my time to making content for what is essentially free, for a game that I also enjoy playing, is that I want to at least know that I'm not wasting my time. And that was that's what did it for me. So
I think that's a huge draw to LSS. Like it is something like I've never really been into any other TCGs, but like just generally like dealing with companies, like they're usually very closed doors, don't talk to you. So someone I like started playing Flesh and Blood and like investing more time into, when I was like looking at what they did, I'm like, this is super cool. Like they tell us everything. Yeah. Like they tell us way more than any other company would ever dream of telling us. Like going through and being like, oh yeah, the next 4 sets are draftable, and this is our plan. In 10 years, a 10-year mark, we're planning to make another supplemental set. And by the way, and like, it is super cool to be able to see them talk about what they plan for their future and like why things are going that way. And like, especially the part where you said like, hey, we're human, we make mistakes. Like a lot of times companies like make a mistake and they're like, let's just brush this under the rug, pretend it didn't happen. Like, that was interesting. But look at this really cool thing. Like, new set coming out. Like, I don't know how Magic does it, but it's like, there was a mistake, but look at this cool thing. There's Spider-Man. Like,
right. Yeah, I mean, like, that's effectively it.
And it's like LSS feels like, hey, like we know this has been a problem. We know this is a mistake. This is how we're gonna fix it. This is how we're gonna change it. Like this is our plan to make this different. Or like even sometimes when they're like, we're sticking to our guns. Like it may have not come out exactly what we wanted it to, but like LL, like this is a format that's meant to stay. It's meant to be a part of Flesh and Blood. Yep. It's gonna come back as a competitive format at some point.
Yeah.
We're sticking to our guns there. And it just didn't adopt as well as we thought it would be. So we're just going to sideline it and bring it back when we think it's ready. So it is cool to be able to like sit down and listen to a company say all that and do all that and like explain their whole thought process.
For sure. And I hope for many more. It's going to be a wonderful few years for Flesh and Blood. It's going to be a wonderful future for Fab. If you're listening to this and you have yet to play Flesh and Blood, just give it a shot. Find an armory, go hang out. Even just wait until February when those Sage decks come out and you just buy a couple, go play with your friends. It's really a dream to be in this community, to know that this company is truly caring about their game in general. So
yeah. Well, I think that's a good point to start wrapping it up. Do you have anything else that you want to say?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Just keep having fun. That's kind of it. keep on having fun.
Sweet. So, one thing I want to say, thank you for joining me. I know it's
Yeah.
like a little bit last minute, but also like, yeah, with like Cody going out of town and then I'm heading out of town. It's just like, oh, we got to figure something out. And you were able to join. It was awesome. Also, congratulations on 3,000 subscribers.
Oh,
I know
thank
that
you,
happened
thank
earlier
you.
this week, and that was really cool. But yeah, that is pretty much all we have to talk about. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Alex.
Thanks for watching.